Cette conférence va maintenant être enregistrée.
Bonjour a tous, buenos días a todos. Mi nombre es Pedro Valero, soy el director de la Cámara de Comercio Colombo-Francesa, la CCI France Colombia. Muchas gracias por asistir a este webinar organizado en conjunto con la Universidad de Grenoble, le Grenoble École de Management. Esta conferencia va a ser en inglés, entonces vamos a cambiar. So, thank you everybody. So it's a pleasure to me to introduce you Gael Fuyar, Executive Education Director, and Phil Eyre, Executive MBA Director. If you have any questions, you can write it down on the chatter. And it doesn't matter if you write it in English, French, or Spanish. We'll be ready to answer you. So also, I want to introduce you Pamela Carrillo. She is the business developer of Grenoble Business School in Colombia. She will share with us her information in order to contact her if you have any other questions. So Gael, thank you to participate, and Phil, I'll let you start the presentation, please.
Thank you very much, Pedro. Welcome, everyone. We're very happy to meet you virtually and to present today the Executive MBA of Grenoble École de Management in Medellin. I will be starting the presentation with general information about the school, introduction about Grenoble and the city of Grenoble and our school. And then I will let Phil introduce in more details the program. As Pedro mentioned, feel free to ask questions, to write your comments or questions on the chat during the presentation, so we can answer or be more specific if some things are not clear during the presentation. So I'm a Grenoblois, which means I was born in Grenoble. So everything I will say about the city is only positive and great. But I will try to be objective nonetheless. A little bit about Grenoble, and it's interesting because you will see the parallel with Medellin, maybe in what I will introduce. Grenoble is located in the French Alps, so we are in the middle of the mountains. On the picture, you can see mountains in the summer. At the moment, there's quite a bit of snow on those same mountains. And that's maybe a difference with Medellin, where you don't see much snow. The other thing is about Grenoble. It's a mid-sized city, about 500,000 inhabitants totally in the urban area, but very lively and very a big student city in France. We have over 60,000 students in many different fields, but with a strong position, especially in sciences. There's been a couple of Nobel Prizes in physics and a very strong engineering school as well in Grenoble. But you have students from all backgrounds in the city. It's also a city that is known in France, and a region that is known for research and for being one of the most innovative cities. It is true in terms of patents. It's true in terms of innovation, in terms of technologies developed in Grenoble, and I will get back to that in another slide. And it's also a great sporting cities. I've mentioned the mountains, and obviously the skiing is big here. We're in the middle of the French Alps, and we had the Winter Olympics in 1968. So it's a place where people like to practice outdoor sports. Now, if I talk a little bit more about the business side of Grenoble, I mentioned before it's a scientific and research-oriented city, which makes the area of Grenoble the #1 in terms of jobs for research. We have public research through universities, through major research centers that are public French governmental or European centers. It's #2 in terms of engineering and jobs for engineers. And it's true that a lot of people and companies, like you can see Schneider Electric, Soitec, Capgemini, and others are really focusing on technology. And you see in the list of world leaders, maybe a couple companies you know. I'm thinking, for instance, of Poma, which is also big in Medellin. Poma is originally a Grenoble-based company that developed the ski lifts for ski resorts, but which is now big in urban cable transportation, and especially in Medellin. Overall, Grenoble is also a place with a lot of international companies and international people. So we have obviously a lot of international students in our school, but also a lot of expats working again in research, in universities, in research centers, and in international or foreign-owned companies. Companies like HP, like Xerox, Caterpillar, and others are big here in Grenoble. Now I will speak a little bit more about Grenoble École de Management, so GEM. So Grenoble École de Management is a school that was created in 1984, so quite young if we compare ourselves to big public universities or other major French business schools, which can have more than 200 years of history. And when we were created as part of the Chamber of Commerce of Grenoble, our mission was given to be a school with a focus on technology management and innovation because of the environment of Grenoble. So as you can imagine, companies like ST Microelectronics, like Schneider Electric, like Soitec and others, or HP, were interested to have a school that would produce managers and professionals who have a good understanding of technology and research and development. So this was from the beginning, the kind of specialization or the DNA of the school, if you wish. And still up to date, this is something that makes our school a little bit different. We have, by tradition, trained a lot of people with a technical or engineering background who came into management or who needed some training in management area. You see as well on this slide the number of research areas that we are currently focusing on. These are areas where our faculty are producing research, but also areas where we have specific program and degree programs. For instance, we have related to health and well-being, a program specializing on biotech and pharma companies, management of those companies. In the field of energy and climate change, we have a joint degree with the engineering school here, focusing on management and marketing of energy services. In the area or related to the area of digitization, we have programs in digital business strategy or in big data. So a lot of those topics you will see in our programs. I'll mention as well the corporate geopolitics, which is another important area of specialization of the school, which you will see is also part of the MBA program. By the way, the picture you see here on this slide is our main building, our main campus in Grenoble. As I mentioned already, our focus on innovation is linked to our environment, our ecosystem, and one of the current development of Grenoble is called Giant. This is an innovation campus. There is on this picture, and we will be sending you or making the slides available for you after the presentation. You see there's a video included in this slide, and you will be able to play it after the presentation. But this is to introduce further the Innovation Campus, which is next to our building here in Grenoble, which mixes research centers. CEA, for instance, is a national French public research centers focusing on energies, but also European centers like ESRF, which is a synchrotron facility, so a particle accelerator, as well as Université Grenoble-Alpes, which is now a big scientific university, as well as the engineering school and the business school, GEM, part of this alliance. The idea of this campus is to mix researchers, students, professionals, companies as well, who are interested in innovation in those areas, especially in energy, health, and new telecommunication and nanotechnology technologies. Again, this is one of the reasons also why we decided in the beginning to work with Medellin and develop an MBA there, because as you may know, there is a similar initiative, I would say, or similar cluster, innovation cluster, located in Medellin, which is called Ruta N. Ruta N, in a sense, is doing similar work that we are doing in Giant, focusing on similar areas, whether it's health, whether it's energy fields, and trying to be also a place to connect businesses, students, universities. So this is a little bit the idea of Giant. A few figures now about the school. This is also another picture of our building in Grenoble. As you see, we have about 8,000 students totally across all the programs that we have in Grenoble and abroad. About 35,000 now alumni across the globe, and about 50 programs ranging from undergraduate programs to doctorate and PhD programs. About 500 guest faculty, 600 permanent staff, including administrative and faculty, and a budget of 63 million euros, which is half funded by tuition of our students, and the other half through company sponsorship. An important thing here is that there is no public money or sponsorship from the government in our school. So we function a little bit like private schools or private universities in Colombia, meaning that everything that we do is financed through students' tuitions or support from companies that want to help us in our projects. A few words about international. I mentioned before geopolitics, and I mentioned the fact that Grenoble is a very dynamic, very international city. This was also one of the area where, from the beginning, the school was asked to be very present. So we have a long history of attracting international students, of sending our students abroad. To give you an example, the main program that is a Master in Management in French includes a compulsory international experience. So all our French students have to study abroad or to do an internship abroad during their studies here to be able to graduate. So this is international has always been an important aspect of the development of the school. On this slide, you can see different set of information. In the rounds with the different regions and numbers in blue are the number of exchange programs or universities we have exchange with in each region. So for Latin America, for instance, South America, we have currently 14 partner schools with which we have exchange students, where we send our students for a semester or a year, or who can send their students to Grenoble for exchanges. In Colombia, the exchange partner with Grenoble École de Management is Universidad Los Andes in Bogota. And we have a couple others in Latin America, in Argentina, in Peru, in Chile, Brazil, obviously, so on and so forth. You also see on this slides a number of blue points, light blue points, on the east coast of the US and in Vancouver or in London or in Beijing. These are what we call transcontinental tracks. It means that every year we send a number of students as a group to study for a semester there at a partner university. For instance, in New York, they go to Pace University for a program specializing on finance. Then you have a number of black points. Those black points materialize the countries or regions where we have a representative doing recruitment for our international programs and recruiting students to come to Grenoble on our programs. So we have representatives in North America and US, in Mexico for Latin America, in Italy for part of Europe, Lebanon for the Middle East, India, and China. And then you see in red the locations where we have programs that we deliver with our own faculty. These are places where we have our MBA or other programs that we teach and where we send faculty on a regular basis, usually working through a partner school or through a partner company to deliver the program in different locations. And this is where you see the point for Colombia materializing the executive MBA that we have in Medellin. Still on the international level, to give you an idea of how international the school is, currently about 40% of our student body are coming from other countries in Grenoble or in other locations. So it's a good number. It's about the same, a little bit higher for professors. So about half of our professors are international professors, and the other half are French. And we have about 160 nationalities represented on our programs through the students and the professors. So you see pretty much every nationality possible you can imagine is represented on some of our programs. A little focus on something that is very often a point of interest for candidates and potential students when they are looking at choosing a school or a program. There are two things here on this slide. On the left side, you have the accreditations. AMBA, AACSB, and EQUIS are the three main organizations that are giving accreditations to business schools in the world. There's about 1% of the business schools worldwide who have all three of them. In Colombia, you have one school, again, Universidad de los Andes, who holds the three accreditations. And I think in Latin America in general, in South America, it's about 3 or 4 schools who have those three accreditations. So it gives you an idea of how rare or how difficult it may be to get those three accreditations. Then on the right-hand side, you have rankings. Most of them, so some of them are French rankings. So typically in France, you will find us in the top 5, top 6 position among business schools. When you look at international rankings, we are usually in the top 25 in Europe as a business school. And then depending on the program, in the top 50 to top 100 worldwide. Some programs are better ranked, some programs less. And there are more and more rankings, so you may not find us everywhere because our communication department would go crazy if they had to rank every program and go answer every survey. But we try to be there, especially in the FT and some other like Business Week and a couple other
America Economia,
and a couple others. It gives you a good idea of the positioning of the school again, and the MBA especially. Maybe a word, Phil, about the MBA executive MBA ranking, because that's
yeah, the executive MBA ranking, which has been in the top 50, 60 for a number of years. We're well into the top 100. That has been relatively consistent on the basis of our part-time programs, exact part-time programs in Moscow and in Georgia. And of course, we now have an additional program running in Colombia, so that will only strengthen our recognition in the Financial Times.
A little bit about the alumni network. I mentioned earlier on the 35,000 alumni. We work more and more with our alumni in very, very different ways. So some are basically networking, and so we try to organize events in different locations and to have alumni community who organize themselves events in the different regions where we have alumni. For instance, in Colombia, we have a good base originally in Bogota, so we have a good group of alumni who are organizing events every 2 to 3 months in Bogota. We hope to have the same, and we have a few alumni at the moment in Medellin, and we will have more and more as the program grows. But this is also an objective to get more visibility for the alumni in Colombia. And then we have different ways of collaborating. A lot of alumni are involved in our programs. Some of them are teaching with the school, working with us on a case study or bringing projects for our students. For instance, we have one of our MBA alumni in Bogota who's teaching in some schools there, who has been delivering one of the modules for the first intake of the executive MBA in Medellin. So there are many ways we can work with alumni, and the network is quite dynamic, especially in Bogota for the Colombian group at the moment. I think that's all I had to say about the school. I will be happy to answer questions later on or on the chat. And now we'll hand over to Phil for the MBA. So we'll switch seats so he can easily.
Thanks, John. Good. So nice to be here, and I look forward to giving you some details. Clearly, via the keyboard, via the chat, you can ask individual questions and cover points in fact, that'll come in the next phase, I think, after this brief presentation. Okay, so what's the program about? As a definition, many of you will be aware, the MBA program is a general management program. So if you look through the program details that I'm sure many of you have already seen, and Pamela will be presenting to you in terms of what the program content is, we have a number of subject areas such as accounting, such as law, such as marketing that you would expect. But of course, in the case of the Grenoble MBA, we also have an option. 20% of the program is specialization option. You have a menu that you can choose for 90 of the 500 hours. So a degree for experienced professionals, we require 7 years of professional experience. So in the case of Colombia, for any of our MBAs, we require a certain number of years of professional experience. That again is part of the accreditation requirement. The organization AMBA, the Association of MBAs, stipulates, it insists that this program is not for pre-experience, it's for post-experience, for professionals that are experienced. And in terms of the program, for MBAs, what is important is the concepts, the theory, some research input from the activities of our research academics, but perhaps even more important is the applied, the practical input. And our professors who are valued, who go through a process of evaluation, and indeed each of the modules that are offered, we will be asking you to evaluate each of these as you go through. What we find is that those professors who have significant managerial experience themselves, who are not just pure researchers, they typically will get the best response from MBAs. So yes, we do give you the concepts and the key theory, but we also make sure that it's balanced with some very practical input, practical activities, and practical assignments. International standard, well, in the case of Grenoble, we are international in a number of ways. Gail gave you the overview of various locations and networks in the world. Behind this, we also have a network of campuses, of partners. I can just give you an example that currently in Medellin, we have a Georgian, that is the Georgia over in Tbilisi, ex-Soviet Georgia. We have Dr. Pata Brekashvili, who is successfully delivering the modules organizational behavior and international negotiations. So the faculty themselves teaching, I myself am from the UK, and I also deliver part of the program, macroeconomics, and you will see on the program a number of people from different international backgrounds. The possibility of doing part of the program in Grenoble will also bring you into contact with the very international groups. The Grenoble-based MBAs are from 20 different countries typically. So we have a very strong international characteristic. We have international dimensions both in the students and in the faculty. So that will also be seen. I think the students currently in Medellin appreciate this diversity in the faculty origins.
One last thing about, or maybe first thing about the international aspect of the program. The program is entirely taught in English. That's also a difference from other programs, executive MBAs you can find in Colombia. And the degree is an international degree, so it's a French degree that is recognized in France by the ministry, and with the triple accreditation that I've mentioned before, which at the moment only Universidad de los Andes can offer in Colombia. So that's also an important aspect of the international side of the program.
Yes, as Gail mentions, the accreditations, the AACSB, an American organization, the EQUIS accreditation, that's number 2 we have, is European. Those two are both institutional accreditations. And in fact, at the end of this month, we will be welcoming the third group, the Association of MBAs, which gives an accreditation specifically to programs such as the MBA, and that is a London-based organization. So yes, it's very much going beyond the national frontiers of France, and that gives it significant international recognition. Okay, so the Grenoble MBA then, we have, as you can see here, in the case of Medellin, minimum 7 years of experience, and in the first intake we have a variety of different sectors that are represented. As you can see then in the first point, I mentioned the specializations. You have a choice of 8 different specialization topics, international business, finance, and of course in Medellin we will also be offering an option for you to follow the specialization, the 90 hours of specialization in Medellin, with an option in entrepreneurship and innovation. Otherwise, you will have the possibility of coming either to Grenoble or even to Berlin, where there is a specialization that is offered in project management. So you do have some choice towards the end of the program for those 3 separate weeks of specialization. Practical knowledge, a mix of professors. Yes, we do have some research academics that succeed in being very effective with regards to MBA teaching. But as I said, what is important is we ask you to give a numerical score in terms of the impact and satisfaction for each of the modules, and also to provide comments, qualitative comments on the positive or less positive points. And we do use that very effectively and to maintain our standards. As you can see, if you look through the accreditations and the rankings, particularly we have, as I mentioned, particularly for the executive part-time version of the MBA, we have successfully remained in the top 60 for the Financial Times. That again gives the degree some international weight. Anything else, Gail, you wish to?
No, not
okay.
at this stage.
Okay, is the MBA for you? Well, that is an individual choice, and hopefully you can get some impact, some information, and to look at the impact of this that this could have on your career by looking at documentation and speaking, of course, with Pamela. So, as you can see, competencies developed. Many people come onto the MBA program because they've had a certain amount of experience looking after budgets or doing some marketing or getting involved in different forms of projects. But they want to formalize, get recognition, first of all, get recognition that they can give documented proof of their abilities as managers and their experience. And secondly, of course, to develop, to go deeper and to get below the surface so that they can have genuine enhanced competencies in the area of accounting or finance or marketing or whatever that part of the program is that they may wish to focus on. Many MBAs come onto the program. It's not an undergraduate program, so many MBAs will come onto the program with significant experience. They may be engineers, good with numbers, and they will be planning to focus in terms of the program on certain parts of the program that are new to them. If they've never really looked at accounting before or never really looked at law before, then that may be something they wish to focus more on. So it's quite normal for an MBA student to have a certain focus on areas which are totally new and to get through parts of the program relatively easily where they have experience. And of course, that's also an enriching part of the program in terms of sharing. Not just it's not just a question of what the professor standing at the front has to give you, but also what you can give and take in terms of your peers, the other people, other MBA students in the group who may have significant experience in one area, say banking. They can share their knowledge with other members who may be more from a technical or engineering background. So different perspectives in the class discussions, which are very important in this program, and sharing different career perspectives. So all that can enrich your network and as well as enriching your skills. In terms of what we require for admission, you will need to have an existing bachelor degree or above, as you can see from a recognized university. You will need 7 years of professional experience. The program is for confirmed professionals. And you will need to have some kind of proof, excuse me, some kind of proof of English, either a test or proof that you have been operating in an English language environment for a number of years. Just to give you an idea, here in Grenoble, where our full-time program is not positioned specifically at an executive level this year, the average for 54 students, the average age is 31. So some of our students this year have over 10 years of professional experience. Yep, that's we'll move on. Yeah. Okay, right. So as I've already indicated, we have 400 hours of core course and 90 hours of specialization. The specialization menu, to run through very quickly, we have management consulting, which is run here in Grenoble. We have international business development in Grenoble too, entrepreneurship and innovation, which will be offered in Medellin. In Paris, we have two running. We have luxury brand management and we have digital marketing. And in Berlin, we have project management. We also offer finance and digital banking here in Grenoble. So those are the different options, and you can find full information about those either on the web or from Pamela. Sorry?
The FMP as well.
The FMP, sorry, yes, the Final Management Project. So there are three phases to the MBA: the core, and then the specialization option. The specializations, just to conclude on that, they run in the spring from in Grenoble and elsewhere, Paris, Berlin. They run February, April, and June, and they will be running in during a similar period of dates in Medellin. Not on exactly the same dates, but on close dates. So once if you started the program, for example, next summer, next June, you would be asked to make your specialization choice by the following October. Whether you wish to stay in Medellin to do the entrepreneurship and innovation option, or whether you wish to come to Grenoble. So the Final Management Project is the third phase of the program, and this again is not a piece of pure research. It is a practical, applied piece of analysis on a specific managerial topic. For a part-time student, such as a Medellin student, it would be typically something with reference to the organization that you are working for, or possibly in specific cases for students that were looking to develop new forms of activity, entrepreneurial activity, for example. So it's up to you with some advice to choose a project and with a tutor from our network to choose a topic that will enhance and give value to your career objectives and your career development. Okay, and here we have, in fact, the overview of the core courses. You can see there we have a mix of what can be called the harder, more numerical skills, and equally important, the soft skills, the so-called soft skills or people management skills. So what am I referring to? I'm referring to the accounting, the finance as the first type. We also have quantitative methods in terms of the numerical content. But we also, equally important, we have subjects such as international negotiations, and that currently taking place this week, in fact, is extremely practical, experiential learning, as we call it. You learn by negotiating, and you are evaluated on your success or lack of success in terms of negotiating with another member of the group. So a very practical approach. We have subjects such as intercultural management and leadership. This current, for the first intake, the first group, where we have an American colleague who has very significant experience around the world, Richard Cooper, who will be delivering the leadership input. So, in fact, many of the professors that are active on the program are also involved in consulting activities, training and consulting activities for enterprise. So have a look through the different programs, the different modules here, so you can get a feel for the content. But many of the modules then will have a highly practical approach in terms of the assessment, presentations work, group and individual assignments work. There are a few exams. We need those to respect the rules of the accreditation people, but they are a minority, and particularly present for the numerical subjects such as finance. Okay, yeah?
I think you can skip this one.
Yeah, okay, let's move on. Okay, so the program length, whoops. Yeah, okay, that's, yeah, let's do that. Okay, pedagogy and modules. So, right, so as you can see, we've covered some of these points already, but just to recap, very much based on student participation. The professors that are keen, the professors that stay on a continuous basis with the MBA teaching are those really that enjoy working with MBAs and they like interacting with MBAs. And MBAs like interacting with these professors. So that's a key characteristic, a key feature of the Grenoble MBA. I've mentioned already the balance that we aim and I think succeed in achieving between the conceptual theoretical input and the practical real-world examples. And these, yes, we use a significant number of cases, but not only cases. We have simulations. A number of colleagues, including myself, from macroeconomics. We use interactive online simulations, which are challenging in terms of getting the right mix in terms of response, getting the right answers. We also include presentations work, presentations in groups, presentations individually, and perhaps more important than almost anything else, class discussions, debate, discussion, different role plays. These are all part of the mix. So it is very much an active experience. It is not a question of passively sitting and taking notes. That's very much the opposite. So pre and post session. So you will also, in the current configuration, the current format, you will also be looking at a structure whereby you will have a pre-module webinar to get into the subject with some initial work. Then there'll be the face-to-face sessions in the way I just described, and post-module webinar in terms of the conclusion. So that will also lead to an efficient use of time in terms of the different modules. Finally, evaluations. Students then will get their work. Clearly, they will get their work with comment and grading, but also, as I mentioned earlier, it's very important for us to get feedback, individual online feedback, so that which is obviously confidential and anonymous, so that you can give us exactly your impression. Yeah.
Just
Go ahead.
the last point, I think very important, and Pamela will be in touch with you for those who are interested after the webinar. What we've put in place for candidates who are thinking about applying and starting their application for the program is to have the opportunity to try and to come to one day of a module. So every session, every new course that we deliver from now on, the first day, the Monday, the first day of the course is open to candidates. We usually have 2, 3, 4 maximum candidates who are joining the class for the first day. Now, we do it in a way that we put you in the shoe of the students. So we give you access to the material, the class material, the articles, the cases, any material that needs to be read or prepared before the class, so that you can actively take part into the first session, into the first day of the class with the rest of the group, and experience the type of pedagogy that Phil just described, whether it's discussing a case or doing group work or following the first day of the class. And I think that's a very good opportunity for those who can to have a better idea of what we're describing here, which is a different experience, obviously.
Yeah, and just just moving back to the list of modules with the current intake. I mentioned Richard Cooper, leadership. There's also John Garvey for sustainability, risk management, and Pablo Colazzo. Again, indication of the international, this with the current group, the first intake. Richard, American, John Garvey, Irish, and Pablo Colazzo, who is from Spain originally. So I would recommend those as possible modules too, depending on your availability, for you to have a look, particularly at those subjects where there's a lot of interaction and discussion in terms of people management, intercultural management, John Garvey, risk management, sustainability, Pablo more on the numerical side with microeconomics, or managerial economics as it currently is. So let's move on then. So the program is 24 to 30 months. Next intake 26th of June 2019. One module taking into account holiday periods, etc. It's approximately every 5 weeks. Yeah,
there's a mistake here on the slide, so we'll correct it and we'll send you the right slides. The modules are running from Wednesday to Saturdays. Currently, the first intake, to give you the full story, the first intake is a group of 14 students who are all coming from companies of Grupo Empresarial Antioqueño. So participants are coming from Bancolombia, from Argos, from Sura, Nutresa. And this was originally a program that is running every 5 weeks for a full week. So the first intake, as they are studying now, are studying from Monday to Friday. It's 5 days full time, so 30 hours over the week. We've decided for next intakes to open up the program to more companies. Which is why we're working with the Chamber, the Franco-Colombian Chamber of Commerce, to also promote the program. We want to remain on a program with professionals and with professionals who have the support of their company. It's important, I think, when you start an MBA to know that your manager and your company is supporting your project, and it's important for us also to keep a very good quality, high quality of participants. So this is why we are advertising the program and promoting the program through professional networks like the Chamber. Now, in terms of rhythm, we've decided to change it a little bit next year, so to integrate more online, more pre and post session, and to reduce a little bit the face-to-face, so the duration of each module. And to have them from Wednesdays to Saturdays, allowing lesser impact on the job, meaning that every 5 weeks you will be 3 days out of the office, which means also every 5 weeks you will have to dedicate one Saturday to your studies. But we thought that was a better deal for the balance between company time and study time. The sessions are currently held at Unidad de Conocimiento. So this is the corporate university of Grupo Empresarial Antioqueño. And the sessions include breakfast and a lunch. So everything is on site and you can focus on your studies for the whole day. Without having to go to a restaurant or to leave the building for breaks. So that's the way we plan to operate for next year, with a little bit more blended approach, but sessions still every 5 weeks, so over about 24 months for the entire program.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, that's the change again, a practical change for the program in the coming year. I should also add, just thinking about the current group, that we are seeing some very good standard, very high level of assignment work. The current group has done some excellent work. I recall the macroeconomics work that I did. I'm using the examples of some of the assignments of the Medellin students to give examples of how the work should be done to some of the other MBA groups for macroeconomics. So that's an indication of the quality of students that we are currently attracting. So just moving on then, application. This is getting into more into the practical side of things. So I don't know, Gail, if maybe you want to pick up here again.
Yeah, well, I can pick up, and again, Pamela, who shared her details on the chat, can give you more details and can help you through the application process. And also, if again you're interested in attending one of the sessions to taste the MBA before applying. So everything for the application is done online. So you have here the link to the application platform that we use. To submit your file, we will ask you a number of documents, copies or certified copies of degrees, grades, different elements that are quite traditional for any application at a university level. We will ask you also to answer a couple questions, a couple essays, which are not very long, about 200 to 300 words, but where we ask you, why you are interested in the program, what kind of expectations you have. This is to help us really make sure that your profile and your expectations are in line with the program, so that no one is disappointed, either you or us. Once you've completed all the elements that you need to submit on the platform, you will be requested to pay an application fee. That's 98 euros, if I remember correctly. And from the minute you've submitted, this gentleman here will be reviewing the file. Usually within 2 weeks, we provide a feedback to you, which can be either accepted, sometimes conditionally accepted. For instance, if you don't have yet your TOEFL or IELTS score, you can still submit, and we will say, okay, accepted upon reception of the English test score. So that could be an option. Or less likely to happen, but it happens too, refused if there's really an issue with your application. But again, I would advise you to be in touch with Pamela as you are doing your application, because that's the best way to make sure that nothing unexpected can happen, and for you to be comfortable as you go through the process. Once you're accepted, the last stage to confirm and to secure your seat on the program is with the first installment. So there are two payment options: either full payment of the fees up front, which are 22,000 euros for the entire 2 years of the program, or the option to pay by semester, as it is, I think, the usual in most universities in Colombia, and then that goes with 4 installments of 5,500 euros. So that's for the application process. We've put a deadline for applications at May 26th. This is 1 month before the start of the program. The reason being that, we insisted in the pedagogy part, each module includes free readings and materials to review before the start of the module, and the first course that is given by Phil during the introduction session requires some work. So we want to make sure that all candidates who are accepted on the program have enough time to prepare for the first module before they join the program. So that's in terms of applications. We are, as I mentioned before, we have a group currently of 14 students, and the objectives for this year and for every cohort from now on is to have a minimum of 20 participants. This is a requirement from our accreditations, and it's also a guarantee for you to have a group with enough interaction, diversity, and therefore more learning opportunities during the course of the program. So this is what we are looking at. We have a good number of candidates at the moment. Again, we're opening up the program to more companies, so there will be a number of participants coming from Argos, from Sura, Bancolombia, etc. But we've also started an agreement with Avianca, so we're expecting to have some candidates, or we have some candidates, and we're expecting to have participants from Avianca, and as well we hope from companies, members of the chamber, members of the business community of Medellin. One last important thing about the application and the tuition fee. If you look at the MBA program in Grenoble, the full-time MBA program, currently the tuition fee is a little bit above 31,000 euros. So you will see here quite a significant discount compared to the regular price of the program in Grenoble. This was a negotiation initially with the Grupo Empresarial Antioqueño to guarantee a number of candidates and to also meet more, I would say, the tuition fees that you can find in Colombia in other programs. I think some schools, Los Andes or La Sabana, for instance, have higher tuition fees for their executive MBA program. We're trying to keep it at this level, and therefore to offer a significant benefit compared to students who come to Grenoble to do the MBA full time and who have to stop working for a year or two to follow the program. So these are some of the benefits I think that you will appreciate for this program.
Yep, so I think that is about it. Questions, maybe through the keyboards?
Yes, if you have questions, we're happy to answer them now. Again, you have Pamela's coordinates in the chat and on the slides. We will make them available to you, Pedro, and to anyone who would like to have them. And if you have questions, we're happy to answer them. If not, we hope you have a good day. It's early still quite early in Bogota or in Medellin. Here it's about midday. So let us know.
Okay, so I don't know if anybody has any questions. Somebody has any. You can write it down on the chat or.
If you have access to the chat, yeah.
Maybe everything was so clear, Pedro. I think that's.
I was just thinking that.
Okay, so I don't know, maybe later. So all the contact information is on the slide. So you can contact Pamela Carrillo here in Colombia. If you need more information. Thank you, Gael. Thank you, Phil, for your time. We hope we will have a lot of students interested in the MBA, the Renobles MBA.
We hope so too, and also I didn't mention, but if some of you are interested, maybe not at a personal level, but for their teams or for their company, because you're from HR and you have projects in developing competencies for your managers, I will be happy also to be in touch personally in the future. Either you can contact me through Pamela, and I visit on a regular basis Colombia, so I will probably be in Medellin and maybe in Bogota in February or March. So if you have interest in other topics or other developments in terms of executive education, I'm also happy to discuss that.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Pedro.
Okay. Thank you. We'll see you soon. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye.